again to another educational video brought to you by Andover Corporation. On a previous video, I talked about what a long wave pass was and the cost drivers. All those similar principles apply to a short wave pass, but I wanted to go over some differences between them. So a long wave pass looks like this, and a short wave pass is pretty much the mirror image of that, passing the shorter wavelengths of light, as opposed to passing the longer wavelengths of light. Now, rejecting a lower wavelength of light, let's just pick a wavelength of 500 nanometers, and rejecting a longer wavelength of light of, say, 1200 nanometers. The amount of coding it takes to reject in this region is under half of what it takes to reject in this region. So a filter with similar slope and similar 50% point, but from a long wave to a short wave, it's well over double the amount of coding to produce it, thus making your part more expensive. So don't request a short wave pass when a long wave pass could work just the same, especially if you're choosing between reflecting and transmitting light, or reflecting and transmitting light. If you could flip your optic and do it in a different way, you can save yourself some cost. Now, there's another aspect you should know about shortwave passes. When you're applying coding out here in this region, let's say you come up at 1200 nanometers, you're going to have more ripple in a short wave than you are a long wave pass. And then you're also going to have, if this was 1200 and out here is 1400 nanometers where you're rejecting, somewhere around this 500 nanometer point, you're gonna get a rejected third order coming down. So it's hard to maintain your transmission infinitely down. So specifying a filter from 1200 nanometers to transmit all the way to 400 or 300 is a stiff requirement. To be able to get rid of this, you'll have to use order suppressing designs that lift this up. And when that happens, you lose rejection in this region, and then you need more layers and the design gets complicated. A good rule of thumb is that your 50% point can get good transmission to about half of where your 50% point is. So if this was 600 nanometers, you'd be just fine. Anything beyond that, you're going to get into that secondary area and you're going to need a more complicated design. So the reason for a lot of this extra ripple is, imagine putting down a quarter wave of material at 1400 nanometers. Well, down here in these wavelengths, it's seeing multiple quarter waves, as opposed to, say, a long wave that has a layer here at 500. Out at 1400, it's not even seeing a quarter wave. There's not as much disturbance with the light. So a lot of filters can specify a ripple tolerance here of, say, less than 5%, less than 15%, from min to max. And that could be useful in color applications, or if you have a dip in here around, say, the green wavelengths of light, and it comes down like that, your filter's going to look green in a way that it shouldn't. So those are some distinct differences between a long wave and a short wave that make a short wave just a little bit more difficult to produce. A short wave also makes it more difficult to block further up in the wavelength scale. If you have your 1200 shortwave and you say you want to transmit down to that 600 that we talked about, we'll say no problem. we can do this. If you'd like this to block all the way out to 3,000, now your rejection stacks in your optical design are going to start showing more ripple and more orders of magnitude here, and that'll become infinitely more difficult. It's much easier with a long wave to block all the way down and then come up. So, in short, make sure that when you're choosing a shortwave pass that you need a shortwave pass, and a long wave pass could be substituted in. And if that's the case, I would choose a long wave pass over a shortwave pass, but not all applications can do that. Specifically, CCD camera applications where you need all the visible light transmitted and rejecting the infrared light. So I hope this has been some help to you, describing the difference between short waves and long waves, and I hope you make the right choice. Thank you.